Welcome to the weekly shir of Zer Shimshon. It's Dalet Sivan, Tafshin Pei Base. Only 218 years till the end of this world. Hopefully Mashiach will fill our days for that 2,000 years we're missing. I'm going to do a shtickle from Rus because since it's Shavuos this week, so I'm not going to do the Parsha because anyway it's not your Parsha. so we'll try to fix that up in the future. I don't know what we'll do. Anyway, it says, the pasuk says, Yishalim Hashem po'olech v'sihi matzkotech shalema. That's what Nomi says to Rus. And it's kasha. First of all, Ma'u ha'kefel shal tehi matzkotech shalema. Why does he have to say your reward should be fulfilled after he says Yishalim po'olech? It's the same. It's a double lesson. Furthermore, how did you imagine that God wouldn't give her full and complete payment, reward for what she did? What do you need to be praying for that? And furthermore, he says, what is after that's arichas lashon. So while it should say Dai Laimar, it's be enough to sufficient to say Me'im Hashem in the Ginig. Okay, Yesh Tarts. The Isa b'midrash Yalkut. It's brought in the Yiddish Yalkut and Tehillim. Tav Samach Tes. If somebody wants to look it up. And the pasuk in Tehillim Kuf Yud, it says Lecha Tal Yadu Secha. It says Lefisha Haya Avram Avinu Mispached V'Aimer. Avram Avinu was afraid and he said Aimer Aimer Sheyesh B'Yadi Avein Avodah Zara Shavadati. Maybe I have the sin of Avodah Zarah that I worshipped. So it's because Kadosh Baruch Hu Kol Hashanim Alel. I mean, it's all those years, whatever years he worshipped Avodah Zarah. Therefore, he said to Kadosh Baruch Hu, Tal Yad Lecha Tal Yadu Secha. Ma Tal, just like by Tal, it's dew, right? Dew comes down, Hayapayreach, and the sun comes down and it floats up, it disappears. So Af Avodah Secha. So all your sins will disappear. Matal hazeh siman bracha. It's also the dew is a sign of a measure of bracha for the world, blessings. Af ata siman bracha. So you, the Avram Avinu, are going to be a siman bracha for the world. Af kan la'achar she'amar Naomi Yishalim Hashem polech. After Naomi said to Rus, God will pay off your deeds. It's mashma only the mitzvah she's doing from now and further. But what about she had all those sins that she did before she was misgayer. Therefore she added and said all your sins, all your sins should float away. And your reward should be complete, wholesome. As if you were born amongst the Jewish people. Okay, so now, just like by Avram Avinu was a blessing for the world, so Rus would be the sign of a blessing for the world. Shekol halachas kabbalas gerim anu melayimdim me'aisam Rus. With all the halachas of gerim we learned from Rus, like it says in the Gemara in Yavamas, which those who did Daf Yomi just learned this recently. Mem Zayin Amud Beis. Kasha Talmusi Almus, wherever you go, wherever you die, I'll die, whatever you do, I'll do, I'll be buried wherever you'll be buried. Anyway, my people are your people, etc. Ein marbim alav, ein medaktikim alav. And we paskin that we're not increasing the pressure on the person that converting to pressure him to do too much. You just say a few things you're going to do, and he accepts it, that's fine. Im timer, my shna Rus, the daimela Avram, Yosim Ishar game. Why is Rus, who's comparing the Midrash is comparing her to Avram more than other Gerim? It says L'cha Tal Yadu Secha. Okay, the mashma L'cha Dafke V'loy Lachim. It's mashma only God was speaking to Avram Avinu when he said, you should be the tal, like Tal, and your sins will disappear. Why did Nomi see fit to pray for Rus that she should be like Avram? Therefore is explained, you came to dwell under the Shechina. The Fisha Rus lo bas the Zgayer, because Rus didn't come to me Zgayer because of money, or Adarabah. Naomi was poor, she was impoverished. When she came back, Leila Shumishus, there was no way she would get to marry again at her age, probably, and there was nobody available for her. She was a Geiris. So it's very rare that people would marry Geirim or Geiris in nowadays. Tishaverna, Rus, when Naomi said to Rus, V'loi bas el me'ava gemora obeshriel shahaisabah apreda tova shel David Mashiach. And she was the special gosling that was for David and Melech HaMashiach, which is the Seifa, the Tikkun of the world, Machmes HaKilkul Shel Adam HaRishon, because of the ruination that Adam HaRishon did. V'zayis apreda lakachat lakcha lot. I'm sorry, he lakcha lot mi Avram. So this preda was taken, Lot took from Avram. The comment says in Eis B'Yud Beis Al Pasuk, Sheish Seorim Ha'ela Nasan Li, V'lachein Min HaRoyehu Shetiya Daimel Avram Shetiya Shehaya Rishayna Shehischel Esaken. So he was the first. Rus should be daimel this. Avram was the first to make the sakin, the sin of Avodah Zarah. Adai over the sin of Avram, Adam Rishon. Okay. Adayin yesh ledak. Still, this is, what does it say? Lama Omer Maskotech Shlema in the lashon nekeva, in the feminine. V'loy Omer lashchorach schorcha shalem v'lashon zachar. And it shouldn't say that your reward should be perfect. In other words, this should be in the masculine. Yesh letar ikar hanitzut shal nishmas David haya ganuz be'ksuva b'teicha. I'm sorry. The main neshama, the nitzutz of the neshama of David was hidden in Rus. Dafka, like it says in the Midrash Bereshis, Matzasi David Avdi. The pasuk in Tehillim pay test. I found David, my servant. What do you mean found him? Where was he? He wasn't lost. He says, Heichan Matzasiv. Where'd you find him? That begs the question, right? B'Stoim. In Stone? What was he doing in Stone? The Chesiv says, Hasam by Breshis, the two daughters that were found by Lot. So what came out of that relationship? Okay. V'loid, and B'derech Acher, another pshat. Shehine Kaswa Meforshim, the Meforshim say in the Midrash Talpiyos, Shetam Kabbalah Sagerim Hu Mishum Yisrael Heim Kedoshim. The Kol Davar Shebekdusha Tzorich Taisef is the Jewish people, are holy, and anything that is holy needs to have extras. Taisefes, like for example Shabbos, you have Tais Shabbos. It's a mitzvah to bring Shabbos early a little bit so that you can get a reward, and also Yom Kippur, it's a mitzvah brought down also. Therefore, the Jewish people need to add extra people to convert in order to be the extra, l'toisefes. But Omrina b'Mechilta, it says in the Mechilta in Parshas Yisroi, Zochar v'shomer v'dibar echad nemru. Okay, how would that possible? We don't know. Zochar is the milafana v'shomer milacharav. So the Zochar is before, and the shomer is afterwards. Mikan shemaisifi mechol alakodesh. So from there, the Midrash learns that you can add on from the chol to the holiness. The Gemara and the Brachas and the Afchaf and Beis says, Yesh limud acher al zocha v'shomer v'aisha nashim chayaves b'kiddush hayom. And women are obligated in kiddush of Shabbos. That's a devar Torah. So they have to pay attention and be mechaven. Like it says, Zochar, Zochriel al hayayin. Ay v'hani nashi, and these women, hoyovi isnuhu b'shmira. Since the women have to keep the loisas of Shabbos, they get to keep the zechira, the remembering of Shabbos. That's their mitzvah. Okay, we won't go into that. If Shabbos is a deraisa or the rabbanin, we won't go into that. That's not necessary. Since, though, the main point is nimsa shahoyo shehim shnei limudim im anun lo'emim limud echad in lo nekoyach leimar sheni. So we say one way, we can't say the other way. Okay, it's too complicated right now to go into that. It doesn't matter. We're not doing machalekism in the poskim here. Okay, ve'oid tzarich lahakti masha kosav al leket Yosef. Shatoisefus hikshu. The Tosfos asked the question, Lama loy mat mesa Chava miyad. Why didn't Chava immediately die the minute she took that fruit off the tree? Did you ever think of that question? I didn't. Okay, it's Tosfos. And he says, Kedesha lo titin adam echo. She wouldn't been able to give it to Adam. If she would have died right away, he would have saw what happened. Finished. Tirtzu, and the Tosfos answer, Adam Arishan chata shesachat anavim v'shasa b'loy kiddush. Adam Arishan squeezed the grapes and he drank without making kiddush. It was very close to Shabbos, so he could have waited. V'im haya mamtin ad ha'erev haya mekadesh alav. And if he would have waited till Shabbos, he would have been mekadesh the wine. V'gam chet loy haya shesasa b'loy kiddush. In this Ariv, Chet Adam Rishon. And he drank without making Kiddush also. He was a little bit worse than that. But okay, we won't go into drunk is low. This is not a joke. Okay, so, but he continued, then he, Adam Rishon did that sin, and Lot continued that way in that sin without making Kiddush. Cain, Chava loy chata. Therefore, Tosfos says, Chava didn't sin. Because women, it says, it's a mitzvah says gman grama, and therefore nashim are pturais, but they're also not commanded, even if you could say they were also involved in the shimur, because that's why they're chayav in kiddush, but they're not involved in actually having to make kiddush. L'chein gabi loit ein masurim elo zachorim. The only things that are prohibited were only the males. Loy on the kevais, and not the females. Ki on the kevais ein mitzuvais al kiddush hayam. That's be'erech Adam. Okay, and that you have to look over there in the leket Yosef. Now, after that, ki she'anu mikablim gerim hu mishum de Yisrael kadoshim him. Since when we come because Jewish people are holy, the kol davar shebekedusha tzarich tosefes ki my Shabbos. So that everything that's holy needs to have extra. You have to add extra to it. How do we know that Shabbos needs to have extra? Al korcha loimer shat limud shel zachar v'shomer is zachar milafana v'shomer l'achar. The limud is you have to remind yourself before you bring in the Shabbos, and remind yourself and guard it after it's in. Lefi limud zeh ein oid raya shanashim yu chayaves b'kiddush hayam. But according to that, then you don't have a proof that the women are obligated in Kiddush. And if the women are not obligated in Kiddush, then Im Kain Chava loy chata. Chava didn't sin. Therefore, she didn't die immediately. Therefore, for the same reason, because of this midrash, that another reason why the women of Ammon and Moav are permitted to intermarry in the Jewish people. The Moavi, it's another Gemara in Yavamis, which we just learned. Therefore, Nami says to Rus, so it's he maskur teich shlema. Lermois la shasachar shal and the kevais hu yoiser shalem mishal zachar. Therefore, because the reward of the females, she said to her in the feminine, right? The reward of the females is greater than that of the men. Shahari Chava, Shahaisa Nekeva Havishaina, she was the first woman. Leipagma Atzma Bavarachila. She didn't damage herself. She didn't make a pagam in herself because of the eating of the fruit, forbidden fruit. Rak Shagarmala Adam Lecha. She caused Adam to sin, to eat it. Ze Enoi Pagam Kol Kach. Tosfos, not bad. That's not such a big pagam. The Kimoya Hachila Sha'isa Nichnas Beguf. Just the eating with the prohibition would have entered into the body. Okay, I'm going to stop and I'll say I get the Shavuos, have a happy Shabbos and a happy Shavuos and a gesund, and all your prayers should be answered, Mitzvah Hashem, and be mizbainin in the derech of Rus, how she was so determined to accept her responsibility amongst Klal Yisrael, even though she knew that she wasn't getting much for it in the realm, in the physical realm. It would all be spiritual rewards. Okay, it doesn't matter. Have a wonderful gesund Shabbos, and a wonderful and good Yom Tov. Kol Tov sei gewünscht.